Hi everyone, and welcome to our first series of video lectures for EEE 13 Data Structures and Algorithms. So you might be wondering, why are we having additional videos? Isn't it enough that we have our usual in-class lectures and lab exercises? Well, the three of us instructors realized that we'll be asking you to use C++ code in our classes. And C++ is a language that might be relatively new to a lot of you. It's not something that has been taught in previous EEE courses. So we're having this series of videos as a supplement to our lecture and lab activities so that you can more easily transition into the language and see exactly how C++ syntax and code works. So in each of these videos, we'll only be covering one topic at a time. For example, what our data types are in C++, or how to define and iterate through arrays, or how functions are structured, and so on. And each of these videos will only be maybe 5 to 10 minutes long so that they're more easily digestible. You can navigate through them more easily, and you can find and select the topic that you want to learn about and focus on. But before all that, a brief introduction. So, why are we using C++ for this course in the first place? Why not use other languages that we've already learned, such as C or MATLAB? So, one of the reasons that we want to use C++ for learning data structures and algorithms is its ability to use pointers. So, in other languages, we learned how to define variables. So, for example, our integers, which would occupy a certain amount of space in our computer's memory, or we could have arrays, such as, say, a character array of size 3, which would then occupy contiguous blocks of memory, that is, chunks that are side by side in our computer storage. But what if we wanted more flexible data types, such as perhaps a resizable array, which you could add or delete elements to? Or what if we wanted nonlinear data structures? So with pointers, we can actually more easily do that. We could define what we call lists, wherein you could actually have blocks of memory that aren't side by side, but with the use of pointers, they can be easily linked to one another, and you can go from one point of data to the next. Or you can even define structures such as trees or graphs that are more complex but can be easily traversable through the use of pointers. So another thing we like about C++ is that it's an object-oriented programming language. What do we mean by that? We'll learn more about what OOP means as the course progresses, but when you have an OOP language, it's easier to define templates for more complex data structures. For example, if you wanted a resizable array like we described earlier, that you could add elements to at its front or its back, then it's easy to define templates for this kind of array and call its attributes such as a pointer to its front or back elements, as well as methods for adding an element to where you want it to go. Or so like adding, so perhaps to the front of the array or inserting at a specified location. And lastly, C++ allows us to have code that's both elegant and efficient. What do we mean by that? So C++ allows us to use less lines of code than maybe more low-level languages such as C or assembly, and at the same time can run code more efficiently than a lot of higher-level languages such as perhaps Python or Java, which could have code that has less lines or looks simpler in writing, but when you run programs, overall they will run faster and occupy less space when you implement them in C++. So that's all for our first video, and stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.